Yo, what's up, guys? This is Why Not Be Reckless, aka Why Not Be Casty. I'm one of the HCS commentators, and we have another HCS Weekly Report where today we're going to be breaking down the 4K Open Series that happened just yesterday. And y'all know I can't do it alone. I actually brought in a little bit of backup. We got professional Halo player for 13 years, a 20-time tournament winning player, former 343, formerly of Envious, Denial, Team Liquid, and now with native Quats. Mikwen, tell him something that I haven't already.
I think that covers most of it. Old man, I guess, at this point in the scene. I'm the old guy.
You chilling?
Yeah, I'm second oldest.
Really? Second oldest?
Eco's like 3 months older than me.
Wow.
And then APG's a little bit younger than us, but
APG started real young too. Wow.
Yeah, he has one tournament on me. He went to the tournament before my first tournament.
But it's funny, you don't give off second oldest vibes whatsoever. Like not at all. Like you're good. Yeah, no, APG look old. I can APG look old trying to look young. I can tell APG old. he look old trying to look young as APG. But nah, it's been amazing watching your career. I mean, from one of the most exciting players in Halo 5, especially with that sniper rifle, going into Halo Infinite, and then I got some research myself, and we go for a little bit further back. Actually, before we get to the video, we go all the way back. Hold on, that's a lot of scrolling. Damn, you are old. Hold on, Halo Reach, and all the
missing my first tournament though.
Oh, it is.
So I went to Chicago 06, so. Fun video I like to post every once in a while. If you YouTube Mikwen Chicago 06, is a video of me when I was 12 waiting in line at MLG that my dad took. And then my second tournament was Orlando 07. And then I didn't go to any tournaments in 08. And then that's my first tournament back was Columbus 09. I was missing my first two.
If you guys are watching this video on YouTube, I'm going to try to find that link. I'm going to have in the description down below. We're going to try to find that link. And we're going to put it
right now through Discord if you want to.
Oh, we definitely bringing it in there.
My dad screwed up the title of it, but you can tell it's old because it was at the Pheasant Run Resort. So I sent it to you through Discord. It was at the Pheasant Run Resort in Chicago, 2006. I was there for, I don't know if you've ever seen the picture of Vegito, the guy that was seen with Shook One, standing up and like turning his backside to the other team.
Yep. And
then there's a picture of APG right there. I was on the other side watching that too.
So, I mean, I think I heard you one time say that. I mean, considering that you've been playing for so long, but you still kind of consider yourself with the young guns, with the Halo 5 and Halo. You're kind of like the best of both worlds, you know, both the veteran and a hungry newer player. Not a newer player, but new school player, I should say, with the newer style. A little bit of a mix of both.
Yeah, I think it was that Worlds interview, they actually asked me what influenced my playstyle, and it was like, I look back at it, it's crazy, right? Because I was watching like the old like MLG TV. Oh, I don't even think it was MLG TV, but like the old like you had to pull up the old Flash encoder and watch like the 06, 07 tournaments. You know, I was watching like FFAs with like Brad with 12Ds and like Eli the Ninja and Bestman and like all them when they were coming up, and just watching like Ola come up and watching the straight guys and watching obviously FB, and then later on coming up with like kind of new school Halo 3 kids, and Reach teaming with Walshy, and then after teaming with Walshy I ended up teaming with Ogre 2, but while teaming with Ogre, like in that same timeline is when I started teaming with like Hook. So it's just like, yeah, it's one of those things where like it is very much like a melting pot between like the new and old. It's like the collision of the new era and the old era, and I was right there in the middle of it.
Well, we've seen a lot of the past, but I think a lot of us kind of we kind of confused about how this native white squad even came together. Would you mind sharing us a little bit of light on, like, obviously it's you, Gilkey, now then you mix in Barcode and Tapping Buns. Like, how did that come together?
So after Worlds, the first person that hit me up was Ryan, and I was playing with like Ryan, Rain, and Carmea and some stuff. But
I was stalking you guys, so I remember that.
Yeah. It was definitely one of those things where like I knew that things were going to basically wait for the FaZe move. Like we were pretty aware that was going to be kind of like what most people guessed that was where that was headed.
Yeah.
So most teams were waiting on that. So I was thinking like,
By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt. I apologize. The FaZe move back when it was Falcated, Sparty, and Renegade on the same team, and they knew that there was gonna be some movement with obviously the Sentinels boys coming over to FaZe, and then and kind of like that's gonna be the first domino fall as far as Rosetermania, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
So, like,
Go on.
we weren't like 100% of the Sentinels like kind of combination, but we knew that basically everything was going to happen from like whatever Renegade decide, like from wherever his decision was. So most people were waiting around for that, and I was sitting there thinking like, okay, I haven't been able to scrim, so I need to get some reps under my belt. And Ryan and Tim are like great players, so if it goes really well when I start playing with them, then it can be a great team right away. And if it doesn't, at least I'm getting some reps under my belt. So I used them in a little, in some sense of the word. I did enjoy playing with them, but at the end of the day, it just felt a little, just not right. So moving on from that, the plan, as most people don't know this stuff, but it was like, the plan was me, Collect, and Suspector were talking, and we were going to try to find a fourth. And we knew based off of how stuff that was going to shake out that there was like potential fourths there. That ended up not happening, obviously, because there was Sentinels that came in once the three from Sentinels went to FaZe, and then G1 was getting who they got. So that actually kind of left me like without many options. The options at that point were like Gilk, and then maybe the Oxygen guys, or just kind of like try to throw like what I kept saying it, and this isn't like in a negative sense, but it was like in a sense kind of a Hail Mary, right? Like, let's take two players that are insanely individually skilled. We know that they are, but they're just not accustomed to the NA style of play, and see if it works out. And I'm not going to take all credit for this because Barcode was pushing for tapping extremely hard.
Okay.
But once I jumped into the call with Gilk and Bark, they were just like super excited to like even the prospect that we might team, and that kind of like revitalized me a little bit because I was a little down in the dumps because it was like we got Hoax, and then Hoax was like, hey, this is looking kind of bad, and then Hoax is leaving, and then the Collect is getting a really good offer with Sentinels. I'm not going to tell him that he can't, that he has to stay with me. And Suspector's getting a good offer with G1, then I'm not the type of person to be like, dude, you guys got to stay. I'm not like that. So I was kind of, pissing in the wind at that point of like, what do I do? Jumped on the call with Gilk and Bark, and again, they seemed they kind of revitalized me, re-energized me. And then we just had to figure out some visa stuff from there. And that was a waiting period. That's why we started so like about halfway into January. So that's why we missed like 2 weeks of scrims, because people had to get into America, or into NA rather, because Bark is in Canada. But yeah, it was just like, I think a little bit of luck and a little bit of like me knowing after playing for so long that risks are a lot of the times actually end up working out, and not being afraid of those risks, and just kind of just jumped in head first, and we're like, let's get better.
If you don't mind, I want to get, I might get a little personal here, but you kind of mentioned it a little bit, and then you talked about Barcode and Gilk revitalizing you. When I hear that, it almost sounds like the process of Rosetermania was a bit exhausting. I mean not physically, but like mentally. Like, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So honestly, it was just like demons were popping up, because when I left and like decided to take the 3-4-3 job, that's basically what was happening. Was like there was so much roster shuffling happening, and Halo 5 was like done, and we were going to Halo 3 or whatever, and everyone I wanted to team with already had people that they wanted to team with, and I kind of got left in the dust, and I was just like, dude, I'm so over this shit. Like, I have a job offer, like, let's get the fuck out of here, right? And so that it was all coming back to me. It was like, this is why you left, dude. Like, this is the stuff. It's not the competition, it's not the money, it's not it's all the political shit. And so as that was happening, I was like, second guesses for sure. But when I jumped into the call with them again, like, they were like, yeah, dude, let's do it. Like, we don't care that you haven't played. Like, we know who you are. Like, you'll be fine. It might take some time. And like, they basically said everything I needed to hear in that moment. And they weren't saying it because they knew I needed to hear it, because they definitely did not know. They just were saying it because they truly believed it. So that was one of those things where I was like, okay, hell yeah. Like, this feels right. It's going to take work, but it feels right.
it almost sounds like, you know, in a weird way, like, you know, like a bad, like, ever get in like a bad relationship and you get into a new one and you start seeing like signs of like, oh, like, hold on, wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm seeing
Yeah, the
signs
red
like
flag.
it's almost like, is history repeating itself right now? Like, wait,
Yeah.
what the hell did I do?
Yeah. Basically.
I can only imagine, like, wow. But I mean, hey, it paid off. And in case you guys don't know, Native White played throughout the open bracket at Charlotte. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Leading into Charlotte, I was huge on you guys preseason. I saw some of the scrims, I saw some of the qualifiers. I was still a fan, but I took my foot off the pedal a little bit. I really did. And then you guys came out, made it out of open brackets. Okay, great. And you guys came into pool play, did the damn thing. I think you lost one to G1. Then you make it all the way through the elimination bracket. I did to play against that very G1 squad for top 4, and then beat the team that beat you out, which is crazy. I think eventually running into SSG to get knocked out, but still from open bracket to top 4, that don't happen very much. Maybe you can tell me if it has, but I can't think of another time where it did happen.
So yeah, we were talking about it at Charlotte. So Charlotte 07, it happened with 5K. That was the birth of Roy and Lunchbox. So that was Roy, Lunch, Fear Itself, and Hokum. They played through open and got 4th. And then Sentinels obviously did it at Raleigh.
Yeah.
Does that really count though? Like
Yeah.
they were the number 1 seed. You know, like I'd rather be in but either way, good company, right? Like that's really good company no matter what. You're in the company of absolute legends, being you know, one of 12 people that have done that. So you know, for us it's 4 of 12, 4 of 12. But like you know, yeah, no, it's sick. It was. And hey, I get it. We were not performing very well online before. I was a little stressed and worried too. I think us playing through open was really good for us. And I think what all of us noticed, and I think what most people noticed, is that like every series at the tournament, we got better. Like, and it wasn't like a small jump. It was like a pretty dramatic jump. Why that is, I don't know. Never experienced something like that before. In 17 years, I've never really experienced something like that before. But I'm glad it happened the way that it did.
I am too. I mean, and you guys, and it's funny because you said that you guys were getting better, you know, throughout every series, and I believe it. I think you guys just fine tuning different things and whatnot. You know, even through the engagement where you're like blowing somebody out, and just one mistake, I can imagine. You know, I think we should have done this as opposed to this, and maybe it would have been a 250-0 instead of 250-10.
Yeah, well, so that's a big thing with me. I'm a big proponent of don't play. How do I say this without sound like I have a massive ego?
Down to your opponent?
No. Playing down to your opponent is like something that happens. That's not a big deal, but more of like for scrims. This is like a scrim ideology that I have that was, we kind of had like a discrepancy about it. Mostly Trey, our coach, was like, dude, we should play some teams that like give us some confidence. And I was like, no, we shouldn't. We should play every team that's going to fucking smoke us and just get better. And if you look at our scrims, we had a couple teams that like, you know, are like the top 12, top 8 fringe teams, and we weren't really doing the great against them. But our scrim schedule, and especially now, but even prior to Charlotte, you know, we played FaZe, we played SSG, and we played Optic every week. That was intentional. I'm a big proponent of that. Like, I don't really care what scrim results are, as long as we know that we're like slowly getting better. And the best way to do that is play the teams that are the best. And as long as you go in understanding that these teams are gonna do this shit to you, and it's gonna sometimes be a 10-2 or a 12-0 or an 11-1 or a 9-3 or whatever, that's okay, as long as you have the right mindset.
Well, that hard work and mindset definitely paid off, but I'll let you guys decide as we go into our 4K tournament here. Open Series 4K tournament. A lot of these tournaments, a lot of these points really mattering in Season 2 as opposed to Season 1, where, from what I'm hearing, it didn't really matter much, and I believe that was done by design. So we're having a lot of pro teams sign up. If you don't mind me asking, are you okay with playing in some of these Open Series online tournaments and whatnot, or are you not a fan of it?
So this is where it gets interesting as being somebody that's been on both sides of the fence, right? It is really important that pro teams play in these. But it's also really important that LAN tournaments like matter. And right now they technically, like Charlotte at the end of the day, I think is only like 2,000 of our points, or even less at this point, I think. I don't know how you would design it, and I'm not gonna sit here and act like I would know, but I would prefer that online tournaments are mostly used for a sense of like you kind of bracket it where like maybe second seed could steal first seed, or maybe fourth seed could steal third seed, or maybe sixth seed could steal fifth seed, or maybe even fifth could steal fourth or something. But I think with the way that the points work out, we're working out, or like we're designed, or right after Charlotte, there was a possibility that like a team that got 12th could have ended up with the first seed, right? Obviously not probable,
Yeah.
but possible. And I don't necessarily like that design, because that's a lot of emphasis on online tournaments. We all know how infinite it is online, and we know how pros feel about online. But it is important that we all play. Like it is very important. So it's one of those things where like as a professional, I just kind of put my head down and play it and don't really complain too much about it. I did complain a little bit about pools for the 4K, but other than that, I would like to see some fine tuning to the point system to where people can't dramatically jump so much. But other than that, I do think it's a necessary evil in the eyes of a pro, I feel like.
And it makes sense. It makes total sense. Maybe there's a middle ground that we can find where, like, kind of like you said, where we fine tune it a bit. Speaking of pool play, we're not gonna go all over pool play, but we are gonna just talk about the fact that there were a bit of upsets. You have teams like Meta Elite starting off elimination bracket, Sentinels, Rebellion, then maybe one of the bigger surprises, G1 starting off elimination bracket. I think you guys had something to do with that, being in the same pool. Pool play was really good. But for the sake of time, I want to jump into winners bracket. But is there anything about pool play that you want to talk about whatsoever?
Yeah, so I tweeted out that it was kind of annoying that pool play was irrelevant. I put out a tweet on like the format that I would like to see for that. I think the teams that win should probably go into UBSF, like so upper bracket semis, and then you should give 2 and 3 the winners round 1 matches, and then you should put the fourth place team in losers 1. So
okay.
That way, if you go 3-0 in pools, like you actually benefit from it, and you are at that semifinals point. You get a hard match right away, but you also get a bye. But at the same time, it's like, how salty was I that I lost? I don't know. Like it's one of those things. But I've seen both formats. I prefer the one where the winner of the pool that like kind of kicked ass in pools gets a little bit of a benefit from that. But at the same time, I understand for time's sake that that's not always possible.
Well, when we did get into winners bracket, we did see some matchups. And before we get to yours, again, I'm going to bring up the matchups. Anything you want to say about either one of the teams or the matchup itself, or whether it's an upset or not? The floor is yours. Whatever you want to say. Optic 3-0 versus Proton Gaming. I'm sure that wasn't a surprise across the board. How did you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, kind of to be expected. The Proton guys are on the come up though. Like, I would say they're on like a pretty big uptrend. They're definitely trending upwards. But I mean, it's Optic, so unlucky.
Even before bringing on Monster, like before Haynes retired, top 12 at Charlotte, they've upset the likes of Native Red twice, upset at G1 one or two times as well. Yeah, I'm gonna agree. Proton definitely going up in the right direction. But it's Optic Gaming.
It's Optic Gaming.
And then right off the rip, this might hurt a little bit, but we had a little native on native crime here. Native White going up against Native Red and a 3-1. I'm sorry. I'm going to make you relive a little bit. Tell me a bit about this matchup and what happened from your perspective.
So as a team, we know that we struggle against the really objective efficient teams. So I look at kind of Red and SSG as like the extremely efficient objective teams. Like they can get outslayed by quite a bit and still win the objectives. Every series against Red is like becoming more competitive though for us. It's one of those things, kind of going back to like the open bracket thing. The more we play, the better we get. So we were pissed because we choked the Streets Hill pretty bad. And we should have been up 2-1, and then Slayers are kind of.
Which Streets Hill did you? Are you referring to the subway?
Red.
The subway one, or
we blew the middle one. We blew the B one.
Oh,
yeah. So like, so it's 2. I think we were up 3-2. Yeah, we were up 3-2,
really?
And then it went to the middle hill, and then they got the middle hill, and then there was like 5 seconds left, and they capped the B hill, and we just choked on the Slays, and then we were winning. We 4-deaded them twice on the C hill. and they were able to sneak in and kill us and get the last few seconds. Yeah, kind of just choked that one away. Learning process, right? Learning lesson. If you're gonna do stuff like that, the best time to do it is now.
Yeah, I mean, up 3. So we were up 3. We were up 3-1 going to the mid hill, and he said they only took 5 seconds. So I'm guessing you guys are slaying out, trying to play for that middle, trying to play the time on the middle hill, and they end up stealing it. Then they go into the arcade side. He said,
yeah, there's 22 seconds left going to the B hill, and they ended up capping it with 5 seconds left. Then we went to OT, and it was 3-3, and they capped the final hill. Yeah, so we blew that one. That one kind of pissed us all off. So, whatever happens. Like I said, if you're gonna do it now, it's now.
Sorry to make you relive that. We're gonna move on. we're gonna talk about FaZe versus Cloud9. 3-0 in favor of FaZe. Top 2 team in the league versus Cloud9. Another team like Proton, a similar boat, an upward trajectory. How do we feel about this matchup with Cloud9?
Yeah, very similar to Proton. They're on a pretty upward trend, I would say. They're definitely good. They just got to get over that hump of like becoming really good, which is never easy to do. But yeah, FaZe is also just very good. So it's unlucky matchup for them as well, I would say.
And that's really what it comes down to. Like the last 2 teams that, you know, I think Proton finished second in their pools, and congratulations, your reward is you get to play against Optic. I think they were like a 3-way tie and whatnot.
They should have been first. They got reversed up by SR.
Well,
they got reversed up by Shopify, and then it didn't change anything for Shopify. Shopify still ended up third in the pool, but it made Proton go second. So that would have given them the Avengers matchup if they didn't do that.
And I'm sure they probably would have wanted that more, even though Avengers very good team as well. I like Cloud9 because I feel like when I look at Squale and Triton, I feel like they have like 2 very like steady shots, like very reticle centered. Like I feel like they both play a similar role. Put them in open space, they'll win their pivotal fights. Rami has been going off in Slayers. I mean, we've seen like 17 kills, 20 kill Slayers, and then Nemesis kind of a pop-off player as well. I think back to one match I was casting, we dropped a running riot with a shock rifle on recharge. It was just absolutely nutty. I like this Cloud9 roster. I was big on them going into Charlotte. They did good. I feel like they're decent online. I feel like they're good on LAN. At first, I liked them more than Proton, to be honest with you, but Proton's really growing on me. Like they really are.
Yeah, they're going about it the right way. Like they grind. They have good mentals. They're just trying to get better. And they kind of have the blinders on, and they're blocking out all the noise on the side and just only focus on themselves. So it's fun to watch at the very least.
Next match is going to be Space Station Gaming, who you guys have kind of struggled with a little bit. You've hinted at it, like, you know, the objective efficiency for Space Station Gaming is damn good, and I mean, they're really good Slayers as well. They're going up against Avengers. Avengers are able to take a win off of them, but it's still Space Station that come up with the 3-1. Talk to about SSG versus Avengers.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch this one. Avengers are definitely on kind of hitting like a pretty high point. I'm interested to see how they replicated it come like land time, but yeah, I mean, they're definitely a threat. They're starting to sneak into that top 6, like competing for top 4 range.
Wow,
for sure.
Okay. That's a big compliment. I've had Proton, Cloud9, Avengers, and even Team Meta like flirting around with each other a little bit. I think Avengers still on a kind of top half of that. I think Proton are starting to come with that second.
That pack, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They're starting to separate themselves from that pack a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I mean they brought in Swish, and I've known Swish for quite some time, and I thought the moment they brought him, I'm like, okay, wow, expectations go up because I think Swish is good. I actually really like Huss too, and then Precision, I was big on him at the end of season 2. I was like, oh my, this dude he's like literally hitting every shot. I'm like, he's hitting every shot. He's doing so much damage on the map itself. And then I've always been big on Neuronical as well, from that complexity roster. So the Avengers, yeah, I feel like I think you're spot on with it. They're starting to pull themselves away from the pack, and really, if you're comparing Avengers, Cloud9, Proton, and Team Meta Elite, I think Avengers on the top half of that and starting to separate themselves a little bit. Now we're going to go a little bit into the semifinals, and we'll talk about the actual teams as well. Optic Gaming In case you guys have been living under a rock, APG, Formal, Lucid, and Trippy going up against Native Red, Druck, Manny, Soul Snipe, and Taulik. 3-0 for Optic Gaming. Native Red not able to take a game off of them.
Yeah, that's one of those things where it's Optic. They're very good at this game. And Red's like objective efficiency style doesn't. Nobody's objective efficiency style works very well against Optic unless you kind of match it with Slays, which is incredibly hard to do against Optic, right? So, I think Red is pretty similar to us in mindset and stuff, and they understand that it's an online tournament. This is good practice. It's good reps. Figure out what went wrong, figure out why it went wrong, and try to fine tune it and fix it from there. This is the downside of being the team that's three-peated. This is the only downside to it, is that everyone's catching up to you. So, you know, you had the biggest target on your back. So, but they're doing a good job of like holding it right now, obviously. So,
as a competitor yourself, you've matched up against them. I'm sure you've done your studying on them. If and I don't know if you could say, if you even want to answer this question, if no comment, just say it. But what makes Optic Gaming so good, if you don't mind me asking? Like, what in your opinion, what makes them such a strong team?
I've done a lot of breakdowns on them back when I was waiting to play. So, their early struggles were mostly, in my opinion, were just learning hurdles for Lucid and Trippy to become like winners, right? Like it's one thing to be incredibly skilled at the game and know how to win games, and it's another thing how to win tournaments, right? And I think Lucid and Trippy have just figured out when to take their risks and when, like, how. I think they both have learned how sometimes dying isn't a bad thing, and I think a lot of that is attributed to, one, they're getting a little bit older. They're not as young as they used to be, and they're very good at this game, obviously. And then I think Formal and APG are the type of people who kind of. I don't know a lot about Formal because obviously when I started to come up big, like, and be really good, he left. So, but a team with APG, I know the things that Brad preaches, and you know he's a pivotal point in my career of like shaping how to become like a winner. And you know he'll even say that he's refined that even more now today, and I do think that that's true, but he doesn't give himself enough credit for back in the day on how intelligent he truly was for the game. And APG just he champions the correct play style, he champions the correct moves, and he champions the right mindset. And I think that that's probably bled on both Trippy and Lucid. And then Formal probably came in and kind of just like exponentially increased that skill, right, for all of them, I would assume. So yeah, it's just, you know, you have the right mix of players that all respect each other, they get along, they're all really good at the game, they're fundamentally sound, they have good communication, and they work really hard. So it's just the right mixture of players and the right mixture of mentality and personality that leads to success.
I think it's a great point. I feel like APG's, you know, I mean, back when I first started watching Halo, everybody could talk about, you know, he's a super aggressive player, you know, winning his shots and winning his individual pivotal battles. But even then, it felt like there was something more to it. So I'm right there with you. You know, maybe he doesn't give himself enough credit, and obviously, you know, with time comes maturity, and he's got even better at it. And I feel like I almost called him saying back when Lucid going back then is saying, like, he even said he wanted to work on his leadership, work on his IGL capabilities, and he really wanted to mature as a player himself. And then Trippy took a giant leap in that direction as well. And if you have to, you know, give a little bit extra credit to anybody, it would probably be APG. You know, he's been the young gun, you know, and he's also and now he's the veteran. He's seen, like you, he's seen kind of both sides of the fence. So you know what, and maybe a little bit of APG have rubbed off on them, and I'm not liking the way Optic are looking. But they do have one big competitor, or maybe two, who were in the bottom half of this bracket, and one huge one, by the way, who we'll see them later, by the way. But FaZe Clan going up against Space Station Gaming, going all the way to Game 5. FaZe pull off the 3-2 against Space Station Gaming. You talked about
reverse sweep too. Didn't they reverse sweep SSG?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't think I didn't get a chance to watch this one. I was
I
prepping.
didn't get a chance to look either. Somebody said, I think Barcode said it was a reverse sweep. I'm gonna look real quick.
Somebody in the chat, can we confirm was this a reverse sweep or not? I was prepping for me to go live, so I didn't get the chance to watch it. And if it did, even more power to FaZe if it was. We talked about SSG's objective efficiency.
No, it was not a reverse sweep. It was SSG almost reverse swept them.
There we go.
That's what it was. So, yeah, Bark said other way nearly, so I misunderstood him. But yeah, so yeah. So what was the question again? Sorry,
I was just saying we talked about SSG's objective efficiency.
Yeah.
Can we, if you wouldn't mind, talk to me about FaZe and what they bring to again, guys. In case I don't know, SSG, Bound, Eco, Penguin, and Stellar, FaZe, Frosty, Renegade, Royal 2, and Snakebite.
Yeah, that's just like FaZe is pure slaying, right? They're objectively efficient in ways, mostly Frosty and PJ, but they're slaying. Like even so, I think I saw some people tweeting out today with Mr. Snow stats that none of Optic was in the top 10 for KD, which is kind of an anomaly over the last like 18 months or so, right? Because they're always up there. Like at least 3 out of the 4 of them are.
Yep.
That's what FaZe does. They slay the shit out of you. They make it really hard to be objectively efficient because you're dead. You know, I had a quote to my team like early on. We were trying to find out who we were. And I was like, I will always champion doing more damage and killing the other team more than they kill you, because you can't do anything when you're dead. I think that kind of encapsulates like FaZe's playstyle. And I know that they want to add and refine and go from there and add pieces of being more objectively efficient and like getting the objective done without the slays. Those guys are always trying to fine tune, but as of right now, that's their strength. They just kill the shit out of you. So, and it's punishing and it's kind of suffocating in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, there's such a thing as overslaying, but if you really think about it, like if you're playing an objective and the enemy team's dead all the time, okay, you know what? Oh, we missed this efficient play that we could have pulled this flag or this ball, but cool. We slayed them once. Let's slay them again. You know, if we put them 4 down, we can get another 4 down. And now we know where they're spawning. So it's like it's hard to argue with that.
Our MV team, that was the double-sided blade of us, was that we could do that, right? And our objective efficiency never came to full fruition, I would say. But that was kind of like the method to that MV team being successful, was like, you can't do anything when you're dead, man. So just kill them. Like, it was that simple for us in a lot of ways.
FaZe did 3-2 Space Station to make it to the winners bracket finals. If I told you that FaZe and SSG match up 10 times over next year, right now, how many wins do you think each team gets?
Ooh, so I think right now FaZe is up 5-0 on them, right?
Are they really?
Did FaZe beat them twice at Charlotte?
Damn.
Yeah. Did FaZe go through winners to the finals? They didn't, right? Optic did. Because they didn't, because FaZe lost to Optic. So yeah, FaZe beat SSG twice, I think, at Charlotte, and then they beat them 2 times here. So they're 4-0 on them, maybe. You know, I am a huge Kevin Nico Smith fan. He figures out his opponents and gets his teams to be better. So I wanna say that it would be like a 50-50 by the end of the year. But with the way that it is headed, then, you know, it's like technically FaZe might win like 7-3 10 times over the year. But like, there is a real possibility that SSG clutches up for the final 3 matches, right? And one of them might be like a Worlds match to beat them to make it to the finals or something. Like, you can't count SSG out. So somewhere in that 7-3, 6-4, 5-5, 8-2 range.
Just give every 9-1, 10-0.
Yeah, it'll never be that dominant. I don't think it'll ever be that dominant for FaZe, the caliber of those players, but I'm hedging my bets for sure.
Well, you were right. FaZe did run its SSG 2 times, 3-1 in the winners bracket, 3-0 in the elimination bracket. Yeah, you were right about that. And I was curious to see where you thought they were at. Optic versus FaZe.
Yeah,
I don't
Optic.
know what the hell happened here. Like Optic, like so, the Optic 3-0'd phase.
Yeah.
like what? 3-0 in the winners bracket. God bless.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like just a really good game type pull for Optic, or if they were just playing really well, or what, right? But again, testament to Optic, right? They're the ones everyone are trying to play for right now and beat, and that's why they're capable of that type of stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was a 3-0, 3-1, or 3-2 for Optic. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 3-2 or a 3-1 for FaZe, right? I don't think I could ever see FaZe 3-0 in Optic right now,
Okay.
but maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong there.
I didn't see a
They didn't
sweep
form
either
a
way.
finals
Like
yet.
I didn't see Optic
Yeah.
3-0 for phase, to be honest with you, or vice versa. I was
Yeah, I could see I can just see the sweep for Optic more just because of one, their map pool is so refined compared to everybody right now, I think. They have one weak game mode, I think. Like, and it's not even really weak, out of the 17. So, and I think most teams have like 3 or 4 weak ones. So that's again just a testament to their work ethic and their fundamentals and stuff. Like they have really fixated on making sure that they're not weak in a lot of facets.
when we're casting with LVT. That's the one thing I usually press Snow about is the game type strengths and weaknesses. And you'll be surprised to see like the weak like it seems like for example well we'll talk about the grand finals later, but it's funny you mentioned game types and strengths and weaknesses. We'll talk about that going into the grand finals. For the sake of time, I'm gonna rapid fire through the first round elimination bracket. 3-1 Proton over Team Meta Elite. Again, I really like Team Meta Elite. They made the addition of bringing in Bohm, and I feel like it's been a little bit slow right now in implementing him to the system. But I think Meta Elite is still good, and it was almost like where Avengers and Proton are now. I feel like that's where Team Meta were like right after Charlotte during like during the 2Ks, and they might have taken a little bit step back, but they're still obviously really good. Cloud9 did get 1-3'd by Rebellion to move forward. And then
That's not a lucky pull for them, honestly, but
yeah.
59.
And then we'll focus in on these two where you did beat out Sentinels 3-1. Talk to me a little bit about that matchup. How do you feel about Sentinels? Oh.
No, I like all them on that team, obviously. I think I don't know what their problems are, and it's not for me to like speculate on. Obviously they have some online issues and stuff going on. It is sweet to beat them though. That's all I'll say. Like it feels good every time. But yeah, I mean we just played really well. I think we're a really resilient team, and you know, we had a tough loss against Red and we woke up the next day and we're just like, hey, fuck it. Like we do this. We can do the loser run. It's not a big deal. And we just kind of like wiped our hands and moved on and played really well against them. We kind of threw the Slayer away. So like realistic, I think we all think that should have been a 3-0 for us. But the objectives were, we played them extremely well.
I'm not gonna pressure make you explain that comment, but I am gonna say to y'all, I keep telling y'all, time heals all wounds, but it still leaves scars. It be in the back of whatever it is, it be in the back of your mind. We're gonna move forward.
It's not like bad blood. Like I genuinely do like all of them. I think kind of going back to the early part of this, when I said that I kind of got left in the dust and left in the wind, a lot of those guys were involved in those conversations. So me feeling left behind was attributed to them in a lot of ways. So like, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, you're kind of proving some people wrong in a lot of ways.
And winning just happens to be that much sweeter and whatnot. Absolutely. Yeah. Even if it's not bad blood. Even if it's not
bad blood at all. Like I love Collect and TJ. I've known TJ for shit almost 20 years at this point, right? So like not that long actually. We're not that old yet, but I've known him for like 15, 16 years. So and Smarty, like obviously I teamed with him, and you know, I've known him for a really long time. I don't really know Nick, but I have no reason to dislike Nick, right? Like I don't have any beef with any of them. Just one of those things.
On the bottom half here, you had Avengers 3-2ing G1, a team that's that was in your pool, by the way. Boo Boo Dubu, Falcated, Saboteur, Suspector going up against Avengers, Huss, Nirvanical, Precision, and Swish. And you gave a hint about you feeling left off of that roster, left behind, and Swish was left off of this roster, and G1 ultimately finding a home in Team Meta, now here in Avengers, getting his, I guess, revenge, not revenge, but his revenge on G1. Were you surprised that Avengers 3 to G1? I know you talked a little bit about them earlier.
Yes and no. Like, I don't know. That G1 team is like weird to me. They're really good, but I feel like the really, really fast teams can kind of catch them off guard. So why that is, don't know. I mean, I have an idea, but I'm not going to say that on the stream. But yeah, I think Avengers was a bad matchup for them. So I wasn't necessarily surprised, but in the same sense, I was of like, G1's high caliber players. Like every single one of them are pretty good. Like Foul is, he was one of the people that impressed me last year. Suspector, I've always been high on Aiden. I think Aiden's a a good person. He's really good at the game. He's really skilled. Boo Boo is like as just Boo Boo Doo Boo and always does makes fundamentally sound plays. And Sab, I don't really know a whole lot about Sab, but like obviously when it comes to them, like on paper, you look at that team, they should be fighting for like top 4. I think they just need to figure some stuff out. I don't know what their conversations look like, obviously, but when it comes to competition, is tough sometimes. Sometimes you hit some hurdles and it's hard to get over it.
I'm glad you said top 4. Going into the preseason into Charlotte, I said that the G1 are the 4th best team in the world. I didn't know y'all were gonna make a run through one bracket. I said that eventually, and this might have been a hot take, but I said eventually G1 would surpass SSG as the 3rd best team. At some point in time during the year. And high expectations, and I wondered, did I just put unrealistic expectations on them? I feel like, I honestly feel like when G1 are playing at their best, like they really are up there. Like I feel like it should be you and them fighting for that top 4, fighting for that top 3, and leagues above everybody else. Honestly, maybe Native Red in that conversation. Excuse me. And so far, I feel like G1 have been inconsistent. We've seen moment of greatness, not moment of eliteness. And I'm wondering, like, where are they? Really, I don't know where they're at right now. It's hard for me to gauge where G1 are at.
Yeah, it's hard to gauge that stuff without hearing the conversations or actually playing on the roster and understanding what the issues are. But I'll give a lot of credit to Hoax and Alumni. Like I love the Lovejoys. They're both my as my coaches were fantastic. Some of my fondest memories in competitive Halo are with both of them behind me.
Is that because you're all from Georgia, or do you actually like them?
I'm from Michigan, but
sorry.
That was just a coincidence, honestly. No, I think they have good brains for the game. I think they're professional. I think they have strong work ethics. I think they're accountable. I think they again have good minds for the game. And just good minds for strategy and stuff. So I have faith in them to put it together. It is a concern that they'll put it together for me, rather. Not necessarily that I have faith. It is a concern that they would put it together for me, but them not putting it together for as of right now, cool, great, awesome. Good for us, right? One less team to worry about in a lot of ways. But again, it's like you said, every time you play them, you got to come out hot though, and be a good team. You have to play really well, and play at a high level, because they can just beat anybody. Honestly.
Well, speaking of a team that can beat anybody, you hyped them up earlier in the winners bracket, I guess, just to knock them down in the elimination bracket. Proton Gaming against Native White. It was an 0-3. Proton Gaming, Breaking Shot, Common, Monster, and Pose. I don't know why I couldn't remember Monster. Sorry, but Monster to do with this after Haynes retiring, and obviously Native White, Barcode, Gilkey, and Tapping Buns. 3-0. As much as we talked about Proton Gaming and and how they've been getting better and better, and how they're, you know, in that conversation of, you know, top 16, legitimately fighting for top 12, and maybe even getting into that top 8, you know, on when they run hot. They did get swept. Talk to you about this matchup here.